Welcome, everybody. My name is Jan Vasbinder, and I'm the Director of Paralimes at NTU. On behalf of NTU and A-Star, I welcome all of you to this first session of 10 on 10, the Chronicle of Evolution. And a special welcome to Mr. Lim Chuan Po, the Chairman of A-Star, and to our two speakers today, Professor Sidney Brenner and Professor John Barrow. It is my great privilege today to be the moderator of this session. So let me share with you how I intend to do this. To start with, I will give you a short background as to how this series of sessions came to be. And then I will introduce Sidney Brenner as the first speaker. After Sidney gave his talk, I will introduce John Barrow to give his talk. Both speakers will speak for about 45 minutes, or as long as they want, essentially, after which we'll have a 10 minutes break before we start the Q&A session. As you may have noticed, we have a full house. Not entirely yet, but it will be fuller. And in fact, there's some participants today that we had to, there's so many participants today that we had to open up another lecture room with live streaming. If you who are sitting in the live streaming lecture rooms have a question for the speakers later on, please write it on a piece of paper and give it to one of the staff during the break. They will make sure I get the question and can pose it to the speakers. Now, before I will give you the background how this all came to be, I ask you to switch off your mobile devices to the silent mode. I'm sure somebody will forget, but please do. Okay, so now the background. Balázs Gulyás, who is sitting here in front, and I have had the enormous privilege during roughly a year now to meet frequently with Sidney Brenner. Mostly we have a drink together, followed by a dinner. Many things are discussed during those sessions, amongst other evolution and what evolution scientists nowadays write about evolution. Not surprisingly, Sidney has some clear opinions about that, and as we moved on, Sidney suggested that we should set up an evolution club in Singapore, a little along the model of the RNE Thai Club in Cambridge in the 1950s. That RNE Thai Club was a scientific gentleman's club of selected individuals who contributed to the understanding of DNA and the manner in which it relates to proteins and the ability to read the message of DNA, in DNA. Meetings of the RNE Thai Club were friendly, cordial affairs involving cigars and cognac. The meetings allowed for bonding and close friendships among the scientific elite, and it turned out to be a breeding ground for creative ideas. Something like this, but now on evolution, was what we discussed initially. One of the ideas that came up was to invite on a regular basis a renowned scientist to address some intriguing period in the history of evolution. And then the brilliant idea emerged to do this according to a logarithmic scale, starting with a period between roughly 14 billion years ago to roughly 1 billion years ago, and then a period between roughly 1 billion years ago and 100 million years ago, and in each other logarithmic setting, there was another element, important passage of time for evolution. And so we would go on until we reached the present time in which the evolution of language, society, and writing would become the topic, and of course the future of the universe as well. We discussed this plan with Benjamin Seed, the executive director of the Biomedical Research Council at A-Star, who was immediately in favor. So we set up a small committee, Benjamin, Balázs, Ashifa, and myself, to organize such a series of sessions. The idea of the club moved a little bit to the background, but not entirely, because on 10 December 2016, at 10 minutes past 10, Benjamin, Balázs, Ashifa, Sidney, and I actually founded the Evolution Club, a totally informal club whose first action became to organize 10 sessions along the logarithmic principle I just explained.